Nighttime on still waters. This is NB 506812, narrowcasting into the night from somewhere on Britain's waterways. "14th November, Friday. Sky of smudged greys, chalky, sooty, dirty laundry water, and a light of such silvery metallics, lead and steel, iron and zinc, that makes the canal surface shine and adds richness to berry and leaves. Why is it that on dull mornings like these do I become so aware of such colour? The colour of storms. The night drips with storm wet. The towpath and canal shine with the same borrowed light. The hunched figures of ducks waddle and crouch, flat-footed in the lightless dips of waterlogged ground. The world is slowly turning to water. The aftermath of a storm. And in the darkness, the bywash of a nearby loch sibilantly sings like a mountainside waterfall. And this is the narrowboat Erica, narrowcasting into the deep darkness of a storm-ridden night, to you, wherever you are. How are you? I'm so glad you could make it tonight. But quickly, come inside. The night's too raw and damp to hang around for long outside. And inside the stove is on, the kettle is whistling on the hob, and there's a seat waiting especially for you. So mind your head, come inside, and welcome aboard. The weather has been unseasonably warm over the past few weeks, and some days the temperatures were closer to ones that we get in summer. Albeit a fairly dismal summer day, but certainly not what we generally expect for November. And the relatively dry and calm spell has meant that the autumnal colours have continued to blaze down the towpaths and across the adjacent fields. And even on the calmest mornings, hawthorn leaves lazily drift upon the soft, unfelt eddying currents of wind. Heavy morning dews soften the ground and glisten off leaf and hedgerow fruit. It's been a golden autumn, rich in colour and that special light you only get mid-autumn or mid-spring. And the warmth is beguiling and disturbing in equal measure. Blossom buds are beginning to burst on the blackberry bushes further down the towpath. A trickster's spring before the bite of winter, and it's easy for the unwary and guileless to fall for it. We have as yet to find ways to communicate what is happening to our planet to all those who live upon it. The shortening of daylight is an important trigger, but for some, plant and bird alike, they can be gulled by this warmth. A juvenile swan started to appear a week or so back, and for a while became quite a frequent visitor. We're not too sure whether it's a male or female. The consensus is that she's female. However, it could quite possibly be a very young male. She or he made a number of friends here, seemingly quite relaxed in the presence of humans, and knowing exactly which boats to ask for food from. The approach was always quite gentle, although there was still a clearly identifiable swan-like assertiveness there too. If a handful of swan mix or oat flakes were a little too slow appearing, an impatient hiss would seek to speed things along. I did enjoy hearing that friendly snortle though. And I was quite surprised with Maggie's reaction. Although treating them with a healthy respect, she seemed to be fine with the swan family that were here last year. However, she seemed terrified of this particular swan, even refusing to get off the boat if she could see it. But for the past few days there's been no appearance. Other territories may have been found, or perhaps even a partner to be sought or found. And the other evening, Maggie and I came across some evidence of an otter being in the vicinity. A very large, half-eaten carcass of an eel lay among the long grass beside the canal. It could of course be mink, but I and others have spotted otters locally, and so that seems the likeliest explanation. The size of it would have precluded it having been caught by one of the nearby boat cats. And yesterday, Storm Claudia passed through with a day of persistent and at times really heavy rain. Strong winds made their mark on a number of trees that had been holding on to their leaves. The convocation of oaks on the hill, as well as the polestar oak, have lost their billowing cloud-like summer forms and are once more bare and winter-ready. And today there's been a raw and north edge to the air, and forecasts show that the temperature, particularly at night, will be significantly dropping over the next couple of days. Winter is tapping at autumn's half-open door. It's been lovely to hear from you. A particularly hectic period at work and trying to shake off the last vestiges of whatever it was that I caught, which has left me feeling really drained and exhausted. It meant that I'm a bit behind on correspondence, but I do really appreciate hearing from you. Thank you, and I will get round to trying to respond to all of your comments and emails. A special hello to Eileen from California. Thank you so much for dropping me a line. And I am so glad that you have been enjoying the podcast and the memories that it brings of your Jaws-obsessed Newcastle pen pal in the 70s. And I have to say that the idea of the tundra swans and snow geese that are beginning to arrive, bringing you the music of the wild north, sounds absolutely magical. And thank you for all the comments following last episode's Canal Side Halloween story. And I appreciate that it was a little out of the usual run of things here, and that ghost stories or weird tales are not everyone's cup of tea. However, many thanks for your comments, and I'm really glad that so many enjoyed it. And on Facebook, hello and thank you to Jason Polite, and welcome, or perhaps more accurate to say, welcome back, Jason and Karen, to the UK, and particularly to Scotland. And when the time comes, wishing you all the best in your search for your narrowboat home. Hello also to Bill Thomas. I have to say, Bill, I had to chuckle at your comment about Morton's Rise. Glad you enjoyed it. And hello also to Christine Hamill and to Tracy Thomas. And thank you, Tracy. I'm glad that you too enjoyed the story. Greetings to Sherry Rauch over there in America. And hello to Anna McKellar. And I really appreciated your comments about the story, Anna. And I'm happy to hear that it didn't cause any sleepless nights. And it was also lovely to hear from Mind Shambles over on Mastodon. Thank you. And I'm really pleased that you loved the story and that it served to inspire your amazing poem. I really love the strongly evocative atmosphere, and particularly the internal rhymes, which I think works so well when working with water, even still waters like those on our canal systems that have their own idiosyncratic and often hidden strange currents. If it's okay with you, I'd love to read it out in a later episode. And thank you also to Orange Cookie, and I'm so pleased that you enjoyed the story as well. And over on YouTube, thank you to Annavi and Bookmark2967 for your kind words. And Bookmark, It's nice to hear from another appreciator of both Tom Rolt and Robert Aitman's writings. Remaining on YouTube, also hello to Julie Hester, and thank you, Julie, for your comment on the Lucy M. Boston Summer Readings episode from a year or two back, and for your recommendation of other books in her Green Nose series. They're certainly really special, and thank you especially for the one that I haven't read yet. And hello and thank you to Lee. Lee, I'm glad that you also enjoyed Morton's Rise. And I have to say that Lee came up with a twist that would have made the story really creepy. I clearly missed a trick there. And Lee, you'll have to take up weird story writing. You clearly got a talent or the mind for it. And also, great question for a future episode. I'm certainly going to give that some thought. And as always, a very big and special and warm thank you to all of our Lockwheelers for supporting this podcast. They are Susan Baker, Mind Shambles, Clare Hollingsworth, Kevin B., Fleur and David Mcloughlin, Lois Raphael, Tania Yorgey, Andrea Hansen, Chris Hinds, Chris and Alan on the narrowboat The Land of Green Ginger, Captain Arlo. Oh, and thank you for those old photographs, Captain. They were lovely. Rebecca Russell, Alison on the narrowboat Mucker, Derek and Pauline on Silver Fox, Anna V, Orange Cookie, Mary Keane, Tony Rutherford, Arabella Holtzapfel, Rory with MJ and Kayla, the narrowboat Precious Jet, Linda Reynolds Perkins, Richard Noble, Carol Ferguson, Tracy Thomas, Mark and Tricia Stowe, and Madeline Smith. Thank you. This is the sound of a storm. This is the sound of a storm on a narrowboat called Erica. This is the sound of Storm Claudia. And the Met Office insists that it's pronounced Claudia and not Claudia because it's the name given to her by their colleagues in the Spanish Met Office. And all day Storm Claudia tracked up on a north-northeasterly path along the coast of Spain, bringing really heavy falls of rain and accompanied by some strong winds. An occluded front, when a slow-moving warm front is caught up by a fast-moving cold front, has been moving up Britain all day. Its initial outriders this morning comprised light to moderate rain in very mild air. And now she's here. No doubt later on there will be fiercer storms with stronger winds and heavier rains. But for now, this is Claudia's time to take the stage, wrapping the Erica in the drenching play of her leonine paws. Rain rattles on the canopy like thrown gravel and drums against the cabin walls and sides. And I sit here in the little study in the Erica's stern and listen to her growl and sigh. The sounds of a storm. The sound of Claudia's song. The song of the storm. The slap and knock of the fenders as the Erica gracefully rides the chop and furrow of disturbed waters that tinkle and lap against her hull. The calendar pinned to the wall in front of my desk, and the origami map star that my sister made gently swing from side to side, their dance accentuated in the shadows they trace upon the oak panel bulkhead behind. The little lamp above my desk throws the reassuring welcome of its light. It's still light outside. Sundown and nightfall aren't for a couple of hours at least. But in days like these of low-level light, the little portholes here in the study don't let enough light in. And sometimes it's nice to sit in the semi-dark, just listening and feeling the flow of life inside and out. But I also like the little circular pool of light, like the street lamps of my past, creating little islands of light in a sea of shadows and yet-to-be-asked questions. Shadows and dark edges lap and swell, and the rows of books on the bookcase opposite me fade into untitled possibilities and promises. And I'm so glad that last weekend, in the sunshine, I resealed the mounts for the mushroom vents on the roof. Water is unrelentingly persistent in finding the smallest places for ingress, and mushroom vents, or actually any vent, are turncoats, notorious for their treachery in siding with the wishes of rain. If rain hits the roof hard enough, it'll bounce up, get caught by the perfidious underside of the mushroom, and then be channeled down through the vent and into the waiting cabin below. This is particularly annoying when one of the vents is situated right over our bed. However, at times like these, I always remember Mum's stories of the Cathy, when she had to put out saucepans to catch all the drips coming through the wooden roof, and how the inside of the boat used to cauldron with steam and the smell of scorched linen and wool as wet bedding and laundry toasted dry in front of the stove. "And neither we nor the kids ever went down with the cold," she would always finish. And so it's almost inevitable that in rain like this, some will find a way in. And we're used to a few drips occurring from time to time during heavy bursts. And so every now and then we get up and just check. And this storm is a little unusual. Storm Claudia prowls and pounces on a northeasterly wind rather than our usual westerly winds. It's something that the Met Office seems to find particularly concerning. It's predicted that Claudia will bring with her a month's worth of rain in under 24 hours, in some places more. And the unusual wind direction means that this time, rather than those westerly facing slopes and hills that are generally set up to dissipate large amounts of water, it'll be those facing easterly that's going to sustain the brunt of rain. On a much more local level, though, it means for us the rain is driving straight onto our stern. Our pram hood canopy is doing its level best to protect us, but having to come in and out, mainly for Maggie's walks, means that it's now getting quite damp. I'm going to have to check the engine bay once Claudia's passed. It's better than it was, but nevertheless heavy rain still manages to find a way in and collect and pool. There's usually not enough, I should cross my fingers here, to use the bilge or hand pump on it, but it's really just a case of mopping up. However, now that it is dry, I really want to keep it that way. And there's also a rather grotesque sense of irony in this, but the other consideration that's weighing on our minds right now, given the problems that we've had for most of the year with shallow water levels, is the increasing water levels that we're going to be experiencing today and over the next couple of days. Often the results of heavy rainfall, particularly on rivers and canals fed by rivers, aren't felt immediately but come a day or a couple of days later. But right now we're already quite high. And I've been getting CRT alerts on sections of canals being closed due to high rainfall. As I say, the irony of it all has not been lost on us. Locally, there's an amber alert for flood risk. And so, from time to time, we check that our mooring lines and those of our neighbouring boat whose occupants are away are still slack and not too taut. At the moment they're okay. But the water level is beginning to rise, and time will tell. But here, inside, all is well and cosy. For me, few things can beat being on a boat when the weather turns stormy. Especially after all our jobs have been done. Knowing the forecast, we made sure that the toilet cassette was emptied and the waste disposed of earlier. It was still very wet then, but nothing like now. And Donna has been busy. A hot pot stew packed with winter vegetables has been lazily bubbling away all day on the stove. Its rich smell percolates down the boat, mixing with all the other smells and the scents of the boat and home. It's the perfect dish for this kind of day. And Erica does what Erica does best. Rides the elements. The flailing fingers of the storm and the slabby choppiness of the water with an accepting serenity. The Italians have a word for it. Sprezzatura. The art of making something hard look simple. Tucked in beside the whip of reeds and sedge that bow and genuflect to the majesty of Claudia, and the raking assault of her squally winds, here we are snug, and though at times we rock and gusts batter and pummel, we feel perfectly cosy and secure. And sitting here in the warm, dry coziness of the cabin, my mind turns towards our friends outside. Where are they? What are they doing? What are they feeling? The ragtag community of ducks whose activities and mores intrigue and perplex me in equal measure. The rooks and jackdaws, ravens and cackling magpies. The kingfisher that loops in fragile sparks down the length of the moorings. The hunchback scholarship of the heron. The squirrels that spiral and bark up and down oak and ash and beech. The apostolic horses that gaze down from Horse Hill. The moorhen and blackbird, chaffinch and wren. Where are they? They're surely about, feeling the contours of the storm, as we are doing here, navigating the intimate bolero of her isobar's dance. And the fractured me looks outside, and seeing the wind-battered rust-red skeletons of dock and wood sorrel, and the tarnished dull brass of dowdy willow herb smoked now to ashes, and the golds of hogweed and cow parsley, and the crystalline thrash of water, and the shivering quicksilvered limes and yellows of the shimmering alder, and the ravaged golds of the patient oaks. I want to be outside, out there, to join them, to feel the wash of the colour of storms, to become a small part of its encompassing greatness, to shine and glisten as rush blade and fence post, to be touched by the alchemy of the storm's magic, to be something of colour in this bruised world of black and whites. Condensation flecks the portholes, but not enough to obscure the racing tadpoles and teardrops of rain meandering down the outside. The world drips, inside and out. Beyond that, the world lies calling me. Come, join this dance, this fearful, colourful dance of life and death, savage and beautiful. And I am almost persuaded. But I also know that once outside, after 15 minutes or so, the inside part of me will long to be home, snug inside the warm heart of the Erica. That inside, looking out. And my open book, lying unread on my desk, and the little pool of light spilling out across the study. And the comforting sounds of Donna and Maggie, the hot pot bubbling on the stove. And my wet weather gear is already clammy from being out earlier, I tell myself. Besides, in a short while I'll have to get up and coax Maggie out for another walk in this anyway. There's time enough to be outside. Storm Claudia is going nowhere quickly. You can enjoy it then. And so I remain sitting, listening, being. Content as Storm Claudia rages on. And the coals glow scarlet and crimson in the stove. The clock ticks on the wall. The calendar sways. The light outside dims. Yes, I'll stay here a little bit longer, surrounded by the familiar things, so much part of my life. My book remaining unread. Maybe after just another mug of tea, I'll think about going out, checking the water levels, the tautness of the ropes once again. Alive, swimming in the colour of storms. Yeah, maybe later. But now is the time for listening and just being. This is the narrowboat Erica, signing off for the night and wishing you a warm, dry, restful and peaceful night. Good night. Sleep well. Temperature outside 9.8 degrees. Inside 22 degrees. Humidity 97%. Dew point 8 degrees. Wind direction northeast. Wind strength 10 miles per hour. Barometric pressure 1010.5 rising. Cloud cover 64%. Cloud ceiling 40,000 feet. Precipitation 6.86 millimeters. Moon phase 16.1%, waning crescent. Day length 8 hours 46 minutes. Sunset 16:14. Sky casting 7:30.